Last thing I'm recording tonight, because my stupid self should be in bed. And excuse how dark this looks. I ain't brightening it. I'm not turning on the lights. Too bad. Suffer from the bad visual quality. Anyways, I already put up my other two videos. You're seeing them. You've already watched them now. I just wanted to make one more comment, but this is a general comment on, this whole topic, I guess, just on illogical arguments and illogical viewpoints in terms of actual knowledge versus belief. And some people have already expressed, some people are saying, whether this is a waste of time to say it, or some people are saying that hopefully hopefully they'll get the point. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit pessimistic. I don't think people will ever get the point. Some people willingly want to stay ignorant. And part of the reason is their own mind is working against them. There actually has been evidence that when one is presented with facts that completely fly in the face of their personal beliefs, there's an opiate that works in the brain to make them, they actually get an opiate type high in defending those beliefs in the face of evidence. So it actually feels good to stay stupid, in other words. It feels good to defend, erroneous beliefs in the face of evidence. So in a weird sort of way, their own brain is helping them to stay stupid. What can you do against that? It sucks, but what can you do? It takes a very brave person to work against that. A very strong-willed person to work against that. And I don't have much hope for humanity in that sense. Hopefully somebody can prove me wrong, because I really would like to be proven wrong in that sense. But the last thing I wanted to comment on all this is just, it never ceases to amaze me just how much people like this love to rail against the intellectual community and call them wrong, and they want to rail against scientists and call them a bunch of liars or they're being paid to do this, and they don't realize that they take advantage of the very world that these people have produced. They wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for these type of people. I mean, look at the benefits that the intellectual world and the scientific world has presented to these people. Modern medicine, modern technology, modern ethics, the way our governments work, the way we view the world. All these things have come about from the very community that religious types are claiming are the problem. And they've been doing this for hundreds of years. The very fact that we rely on antibiotics and we have to constantly keep updating the way antibiotics work in order to work against bacteria that causes infections. And granted, I will admit that I do have a personal problem with certain forms of antibiotics. That's a topic for a whole discussion. But the very fact that, they have to constantly keep upgrading medicines that work against certain infections, right then and there, those type of medications wouldn't even be possible if it wasn't for the theories of evolution. Because you have to believe that bacteria constantly evolves and mutates itself in order to constantly keep upgrading your medications. Otherwise, we'd still be using penicillin for everything. Now, granted, we are using penicillin for some things, but that's not the end-all to be-all. Certain infections need stronger medications or different medications to target different things. But if, the belief that life forms constantly evolve to different things, if that was BS, then we would have no need for these medications. The scientific process, the ability to the process of constantly testing and reworking things, the process of constantly improving the knowledge that we have in the past is what makes technology advance. Because technology is constantly one-upping itself over and over. Hey, we got a better way of doing this. Hey, we got a more efficient way of doing this now. We're going to have to leave this old process alone and come up with something new. I found a better way of doing it. That comes from the scientific method of looking at better ways of doing something, more efficient ways of doing something. But the scientific process is supposedly flawed and wrong in the face of religion. And yet they're using technology that takes advantage of the scientific process in order to say to everyone that the scientific process sucks. I don't know, and I don't know what else to add to that. I mean, I think it should be glaringly obvious how stupid that is, but what do we know? It hurts the brain. It hurts the head just thinking about that. And then they rail against philosophers and intellectuals. That, you know, intellectuals have it wrong. Philosophers, they're way off the mark. God is in control of everything. Really, it's the belief in God that helped to bring about the belief of the rule by divine right, and we all know how well that works. America, in fact, was founded because they rejected the belief in rule by divine right. That's why the Declaration of Independence say that rule is supposed to be by the people. You know, and you know, it's in the very first few paragraphs. You know, that it's the people that determine who can rule and who can't. It's the people that give the mandate for government to work, not God. This is what America has been founded on. So all those idiots running around talking about God and country don't know shit about what their country was founded on. They don't even know the very basic principles of how this country was founded. And those principles were given forth by philosophers and intellectuals who reasoned this stuff out. It was the intellectuals and the philosophers of the world that went, hey, it's the people that determine who can rule and who can't. It's the people who give voice to that. Just like right now, it's intellectuals and philosophers who are going, do we really need a government in order to rule? Is the state really supposed to be the end-all to be-all? But again, that's a topic for another video. But again, it's the intellectuals who have done this. And religious people sit on the laurels of these men and women and then spit at them at the same time. Because remember, religious people in this country talk about how great America is and how great these values are. But those values came from intellectuals. And yet at the same time they then go, fuck these intellectuals, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's God and country. And the values came from people who were against that sort of thinking. It's really sad. It's disheartening. It makes you wonder why what's taking the mad scientists so long to bring about that death machine to start wiping out humanity. Because if people can be that ignorant, I don't mean to record this in order to bring people's spirits down, but this is what goes on in my head at times when I just think of just how mind-boggling, I can't even speak to that right now, just how mind-bogglingly ignorant these people are on everything. From science to ethics to government to politics, they're just completely wrong and backwards, and yet these people feel that they can dictate to us how the world should run. And they've been proven wrong for hundreds of years. Do I need to bring up the names of Galileo and Copernicus? Do I need to bring up the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition or the witch hunts? Do I need to bring these things up? And what's the common excuse that we hear when we bring this stuff up? Oh, those guys weren't real Christians. It almost makes you want to cry. So yeah, those are my thoughts of late. Those are really my thoughts. And I will admit, part of me is optimistic at the fact that there is a pattern. As we keep looking back in history and going, oh my God, people thought like that, we move away from it. It's a slow process, but we do it. But what hurts my mind is that I would have thought we would have eradicated this by now. Like, people would have put two and two together and go, it's always these type of people that hold us back. Why do we give them any credence? Why do we continue to put them in levels of importance? Why do we continue to listen to them? Why do we continue to, say that whatever viewpoints they bring have importance for humanity? They don't. They hold humanity back. It's been proven time and time again, and it's still being proven now. When are we finally going to have the balls to just go, enough. You guys have had your chance. And you keep blowing it every time we give you a chance. No more chances. Your time is over. It's time for reason to take control. Because it's reason that has helped to elevate mankind. Not you. Not your religion. Not your superstitions. Keep them to yourself. That's your own personal thing. Your time is no more. It's time for reason to rule out. That's what elevates and saves mankind. I don't know what else to add to that.